Okay, we're now ready to start making our roof. The roof is going to use a piece of OSB, and we are going to be using a mitered joint at the top. So we're going to use our mitre saw, which is here. To do this, I suggest that you divide your piece of wood into two. Now I can put the edge being a steel rule on the end there, and it starts at 0. And I can read off from there. I can see it's 260 millimetres, so our halfway point is 130 millimetres. To be accurate, I would suggest it's a good idea to use a tri-square, and we can use that mark like so. And that will give something to aim for. However, when we use our mitre saw, we're going to do one cut in this direction, and then we're going to do another cut in this direction. You can indicate that with a pencil. What's important is that this mark here is accurate, and that's going to be where we're aiming for. You can now come over to the mitre saw. Okay, so we have our piece of OSB, and that is our important mark. These two here are just guides. I'd normally mark that as waste, but we're actually going to use this, so I'm happy that we're actually going to cut on the line in this instance. We're going to use our mitre saw, and the mitre saw is a very precision way of cutting mitres. The saw is held by this framework, so it is kept again perpendicular, which makes it again more accurate. If you want to cut a piece of wood absolutely straight, then we can use it in this orientation. However, we can also, you can see here, turn this blade to different angles, and it actually snaps into major points like 45 degrees. To do that, you depress the red lever, and it will spin around, and you can feel it click at 45 degrees. We can then take our piece of OSB, and we can put it underneath our blade and line it up so that the saw is going to touch our point at the end. Our point at the end there. Now, if you lift this blade too much, unfortunately a safety lock often comes and clicks on top of that pin, which stops the saw from going down. So we need to just lift that off so that the blade drops down into place. Now, when we're cutting, and that can be a bit annoying, when we're cutting, you don't want to be in a position where this is moving slightly as we cut. So we're going to clamp this in place. Okay, and to clamp it in place, we're going to use a G-clamp, obviously named. We put our G-clamp over here like so, and we are going to clamp it on the back there, using our G-clamp. Just needs to be nipped so that it's held quite firmly. Okay, obviously we're going to make sure that it's in line when we do so. So I'm just going to release that G-clamp, position it again, and then retighten and check that it's exactly where I need it to be before I start cutting. Okay. When you're sure you're in place, you can start. Same rules apply. You need to use the whole of the saw wherever possible. Okay, and we've cut the first line there at 45 degrees. We now need to turn it around, so we're going to again depress our little red lever, and we're going to spin it around there, and it will snap at 45 degrees. We can then position our wood underneath where we need to cut, and again we need to clamp it into place. bit it that. Okay, we're ready to go. We can make sure the safety is off, check that the blade is cutting where we need to cut, and we can cut this piece as well. Now I have our second piece cut, and you can see that being both at 45 degrees, they will come together and they will form what's called a mitred joint, in the names of reusing and making sure we don't have much waste. Our piece that we've cut out here is going to go into that joint there, and that will give it some additional strength when we put some PVA glue on the inside face there, and also here. These three pieces will come together to form our roof.